All right, guys. So this is the very first inaugural i10iQ videocast podcast, our recording of honestly our story. Um, I'm super excited to introduce this to the world and to our subscriber base and to our customers. But let's do intros first. Our fearless leader and chief analyst.
That's me, Aaron Uitenbroek. I'm the founder and chief analyst here at i10iQ. I started i10 research back in 2012 after doing some work on the Bloomberg terminal and have been doing market analysis and market calls ever since.
Ever since, every day, Monday
If the
through
stock
Friday.
market is open, I have been making stock market calls.
So it's a lot like the mailman, right? Rain, sleet, snow, we will deliver, and you do,
Yeah,
right?
the bank holiday calendar is my calendar, so I
I
don't
love
I
it.
don't even need to make a company calendar. You want to know
It's
what days you get
perfect.
off? Check the holiday calendar. Those are the days.
Those are the days we get off. Yeah, there's no such thing as PTO around here, right? We work hard, play hard. So, but it's only on those bank holidays. So, well, that's awesome. Okay, and the other amazingly talented individual in our team.
Yeah, so I'm Jeremy Hant. Good to see everybody. Good to meet everybody. By way of background, for me, really just comes from growing up in operations and in sales environments. So I've led a lot of teams, a few different industries, primarily in the insurance world. I've been in the tax incentive and credit space, and I've had the good fortune to have worked with both of you, obviously,
Yeah,
in a prior
sure.
endeavor. And Chase and I, we live, I don't know, 6 blocks from each other,
All
and
right, very close.
met through his other business. He's a builder. He builds things, and I was looking for a desk and found this post online. And long story short, we realized that we were neighbors. And the desk that I sit at here, granted you can't see it here in my home office, was built by Chase, and that's how we met. And then yeah, it evolved from there. So just super thrilled to be on the team here at i10iQ, and what we've learned from Aaron thus far, and how we're just bringing relevant market content, right? Intelligence, and we're bringing that content out to the world. Whether you're an individual investor, if you're a professional investor, the guidance and the intelligence that Aaron puts together and we craft and message and get in front of folks is it's unparalleled. It's really market leading. So excited for today, this inaugural video that we're building out, and just where we're going.
Well,
Yeah.
hat tip to you, Jeremy, on the talking about what you learned. However, I think I need to learn how do I move up the customer list on the custom desk uh
Oh,
customer list. I need to, somehow it's probably a function of what kind of check you're ready to write onto this guy. But I don't know. I
he got
gotta.
in early when prices were inexpensive and walnut wasn't $14 a board foot. So, but that is true. I am a builder. My name's Chase Pals. I have been building custom furniture for a number of years in my spare time. Similar to these guys, met Aaron at one of our previous companies. We all previously worked together. So I've worked with Aaron now twice. Jeremy and I have worked together with Aaron at our previous company that we've all since left. And we'll maybe someday save that for some Beardy and Baldy's bourbon talks or something. That'll be a story for another time. But yes, you are right. At some point, all three of us will be sitting at a desk made by me, because Jeremy's sitting at one, I'm sitting at one, and Aaron, we do need to get you one, buddy. That needs to happen.
All
So
right,
I'm sure it'll help
I'm
with
game.
all the work that we're doing. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. So Aaron, I'm curious, like, if we're talking about people watching this, we're going to do the long form thing a little bit, which is unique. But um, tell us some background. Give us that. I love, and you don't have to tell this one if you don't want to. I love the story of how you kind of realized that you had an eye for what we do today, and the story of you and your dad getting your access to some things and being
Oh,
able
so
to
like way
moves.
back. Okay.
Dude, I think
I
it's
thought you were gonna go
valuable.
with like talk about like how you started I-10 research, but you're
I
going
d-
all the way
well,
back to like how did I get interested in markets and stuff
yeah.
like that? All right.
I just want people to
Well,
realize that you are the deal.
the
And like,
short version of that story, uh, it's a little fun, but when I was growing up here in Iowa, I had lots of jobs as a youth, and most of them all at the same time. I was a paper boy. I worked in Iowa. We do something called detasseling corn, and you can make a pretty penny doing it because
yes, you can.
it is horribly hard work. But I detasseled corn. I had a paper route, um, and I worked in landscaping. I mowed lawns, and I saved up all my money. And then finally, when I had enough that I wanted to do something with it, I read all kinds of investment books. I just started devouring investing books and came up with a idea and pieced together a strategy of how I was going to select what investment I was going to put this money into. And I kind of built a process for myself, went through it and picked a fund, had my dad, because I'm whatever, 13 years old. We reached out and got a prospectus and opened a fund directly, or an account directly with the fund, and invested all my money into it. And it made like 80% in the subsequent year. And between my dad and the neighborhood stories of my dad telling all of his friends like what I did, it was very reinforcing. I did the same process the next year, the next summer, after I made my detasseling money again and had another investment to make. And the fund that I picked for that year went up like 101% in the next 12 months. And so my
Oh
dad
my gosh.
opened an account for himself, opened an account for my older brother, opened an account for my younger brother, and and then I was on, I also came to the realization that making money in investments is way easier from a effort perspective than detasseling.
Yeah, that's a true
That's a true
statement for
statement.
sure. But anyone
So
East Coast, West Coast that's never done it, it
so
is
all that to say,
hard.
that started in junior high for me. So then I was an investor and started angling towards the more active trading stuff through high school and college, and then when I was out of college, and kind of that as an early professional, I was an engineer, and
Radio
I
frequency, right? Radio
RF,
frequency.
RF, right,
RF.
radio
Yeah.
frequency engineer for a cell phone company. I was a design engineer and system performance engineer, and the company was a private company that ended up going public and then ended up being purchased. And so a lot of folks that were in on the private company made out pretty well.
Mhm.
And I had a kind of initial stake to go into, investing as a individual in personal profession kind of thing. And then some of the people that I worked with at that company and contacts that I made just being in that space led to me helping a group of folks build a tool for the Bloomberg terminal that was
Mhm.
a volume at price tool, that I had built a similar tool in the past. And this group that I was I had some associates or contacts with. I helped them with that, building that tool and launching it on Bloomberg. And then part of the gig was to demonstrate how to use the tool so that you get something good out of it. Like it doesn't do anything by itself. You have to know how to use it. As a furniture builder, Chase, I think you can give a tool shed full of tools to a lot of people, and they're not going to produce anything that's
This is
good.
true.
And
true.
I feel the same way about investment research and investment analysis. There is an incredible number of tools. Many of them are not very useful. There are some that are useful, but they don't do the work for you. And the volume at price research and using volume profiles and auction market principles is not something that it does, it happens automatically by just turning on an indicator. But that being said, after demonstrating how to use volume at price and volume profiles and demonstrating the use of the tool on Bloomberg, I was contacted by the president of research at S&P and their chief equity strategist. And they asked if I could do what I'm doing or what they're watching me do, at the time for almost a year, calling the S&P every day. They're like, we want you to do this for us. And so I formed i10 Research to be the company that I started doing that with. And that's led to me analyzing markets, the S&P, and lots of other things every day since 2012. I've been on, TD Ameritrade for a lot of years through the course of being on the Market Scope Advisor platform. And, in 3 clicks, TD Ameritrade account holders, they could click and find out what I had to say about the stock market every day, and I'm sitting in Iowa. I created blurbs that would get read as the S&P Investment Policy Committee notes, and it would be my analysis of the S&P for the go forward. But I made a lot of interesting contacts and met good people in the business, and that's what when the Wall Street contracts that I had kind of started, getting to a point where, they were either, wrapping up or winding down, I shifted i10 Research to be kind of a direct to consumer, the consumer being the investment professionals that were reading my stuff on Market Scope Advisor, or platforms like that, and serving them directly. So, that was the move to, build a website and build a newsletter type of service that allowed for me to produce and publish my research and give it to those professionals directly.
Dude.
So you
And
talk
now
about
you
that.
guys are here, and away,
and away we go.
And now instead of writing reports, I get to tell stories on video. So all good.
Jeremy, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fascinating background, and I think, Aaron, to your point, there's a lot of different styles and approaches that people may take or have the option to take when it comes to investing, right? And there's different levels of activity. So one of the things that we've been really focused on as we've partnered up and looking at expanding kind of scope, service, reach, is the individual investor, right? It can be super daunting to try to figure that out. I wasn't 13 taking my paper route money and just hassling money. I did both of those jobs as well, and figuring out how do I go grow it, right? I was the other guy that was like, cool, I have a little money, I'm gonna go to the card shop and I'm gonna spend, right? But how does i10 and how does the research and the analysis, how does that play to just an individual investor, right? Somebody that's pretty proactive, they have a relative level of comfort within digesting information and making, decisions, right? Decisions to get in, decisions to get out. Can you talk a little bit about that, right? How do we really make that pivot to that individual investor and get them comfortable and understanding all of the fabulous content that comes from your home office?
Well, so there's probably a few things that I'll say in response to that. The first one being, growing up and, as, even as, as a young investor myself and figuring out all the things that I've learned since, the concept of buy and hold and buying into stock indices based on the fact that, their construction is skewed towards an ever rising path. There's validity to the research that is kind of the buy and hold research. However, the idea of making money every year or making money every month is not an expectation you can put on that kind of an approach. With having real analysis and decision-making support from the data of looking at the stock indices, the S&P, the NASDAQ, small caps, and being able to make informed decisions about any periods that you might choose not to be fully invested, or making decisions about how to allocate differently and skew some of your investments to something that looks favorable versus something that looks unfavorable. The long-term investors, they have to ride out, if they bought into that as their strategy, they have to ride out, the declines. And, young investors haven't seen, a real decline in the stock market. We've been on, since the GFC, a primarily upwards path with a few small, little hiccups. Even COVID was so fast from the V bottom that the market made. I doubt anybody that is a young and recent investor even really remembers or thinks of that as, a trepidatious time period. But bear markets are not over, and those things are not something of the past. Just because we haven't had a real one in some time does not mean that the next one is not in our future, and that those investors won't have to either choose to sit through something like that or become have a plan and a strategy of how are they going to not kind of ride over the mountaintop and into the next mountain valley kind of thing. And then older investors, they have no fantasies about the market always rises thing. And the closer you get to retirement, the more you have to be on the page of, can I afford to sit through a big decline or the next big decline? And is that on the horizon this year or next year? You got to ask hard questions like that. And a lot of times that's when people go to the professionals. It's when, you're 25 years old and it's like, whatever happens next year, and the next year, I have my horizon is like decades long. But when, you're 50 and you want to retire in 5 years or 10 years, or, whatever, you have that down to a single digit thing. You need to be smarter about how you are investing your money and what is the risks that you're taking in your portfolio.
Right. Dang, that was a good answer for sure. Well, so we've been going on this journey now for a little bit of, like you've mentioned, these bullish markets nonstop, no bear markets really, even in the rears in any sort of last handful of years. With the emergence of AI, like that is also playing some major factors into the market. How you were kind of ahead of the curve on this, and we got to witness it firsthand. I mean, you were literally, holding, holding sessions with staff members in our old at our old company about, hey, here's how you operate in them. Here's what you can go get your hands on. Here's why it's important. Walk through how you're implementing and how we're implementing maybe like that mentality of keeping a close watchful eye on AI and its impact to the markets, right? And then
Yeah.
how maybe touch on how we're using it.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously AI, it's the large language model, and the multiple large language models and that whole realm and everything is the new, right? Machine learning stuff has been around for a long time. There's
Sure.
there's an entire body of work and things that happen in a machine learning and neural net kind of paradigm, but the large language model was the new kind of addition to that AI landscape. And it's affected it's affected a lot of things, but it's not over. Like it is only just beginning. And what I've been up to since OpenAI first came out, first released their ChatGPT, and then there was all the fast followers that if you looked at how many services that and models that I have and am evaluating, it's a lot. But the large language models and these AI tools that are being developed in the arms race that is that industry,
Right.
they're good at some things, they're bad at other things. They're trying to get better at all the things. So it's where we sit right here in May of 2024. The large language models and working with information that is kind of language based.
Yeah.
Those are the use cases that these AIs are best at. So what does that mean? That means AIs are great at reading all the news, like more new. I don't care what kind of a news junkie anyone thinks they are. The AI can outread you, news wise. And
Correct.
so, from the perspective of consuming and summarizing, and attaching, some significance or some measure and metric to news items, AI is great at that. We have an AI, we utilize AI here at i10 that consumes, at one, initially when we were working on it, was like 60,000 sources. And then within like a month, it's like 150,000 sources.
Right.
Now I think that, it would not be wrong to say, million, more than a million sources.
Yeah, the number's going to just keep climbing.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the advantage to consuming news is it's not a huge advantage other than being able to stay up to speed. It's saving time is what it is.
Right.
The idea of developing a news-based edge for investing using an AI, I don't know if that's the play. Like that's not the right use case, because the information advantage or edge, that's kind of steering towards the what do you know and when do you know it. Insider trading stuff, like that's all people who have information that they shouldn't be trading off of, or that they're delivering in a wrong way. Like that's an information advantage, that's an information edge.
Right.
That is an edge because somebody knows something before somebody else.
Aaron, nobody insider trades. That's not a thing. Come on now. You know that's
from the perspective of what can you do with AI and consuming news. It's not to develop a news-based edge, but it is to make you better informed. It is to save time. and put, the most important things in front of you. The AI is great at doing that. The AI is great at consuming financial filings. So all of our public companies here are producing 10Ks and 10Qs, has all their financial metrics. All of these things are consumable by an AI. The AI can pull out all of the relevant information. You can teach the AI what is good, what is bad. The AI can understand who are the peers in each business and say, of all the peers, these guys' revenue growth is the best. Here's all the revenue growth for all of the top 4 competitors in this industry or sub industry. And it can report on stuff that you ask it, and or it can just use what it knows to like tell you the most interesting and outlier pieces of information. So we utilize that here as well. So that's good, and also plays into the strength of the AI. The AI is consuming a lot of information sources and
Right.
and text-based information to do that. So again, a use case that the AI is very well suited to at this point in time, and we're doing it. Earnings calls.
Right.
Again, earnings calls is language. It's an hour, a 60-minute or 90-minute transcript of people talking about their company and delivering a presentation and talking about financial metrics and forward-looking statements and other things like that. AI is great at consuming that information and not only summarizing it, but analyzing it against, what is the information that this company has been talking about in prior earnings calls. Did they deliver on what they said last time? How does what they say about this segment of their business, how does what they say this time compare to what they say last time? Are there any things that they did not talk about this time that they have been talking about that maybe they conveniently, didn't mention, and that's, a red flag.
Right.
And then, the analysts Q&A at the end, when they take questions and answers, the AI can evaluate, is this an answer to the question a positive, negative for this company?
Right.
And then, around earnings, that causes movement in these names, and knowing that, being aware of that for any symbols that you hold that are announcing earnings, that's something that you need to know about. But then who else that is a related company that is going to potentially impact the company that you own? The AI knows who those companies are, and we have a service that does that. We provide the earnings call summaries. We provide the quarter over quarter comparative analysis that the AI does between the last call and this call. The AI does here are the influential peers for the symbol in the company that we're reporting on, but that you should also be aware of, because when these guys report, that's going to affect this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like you said, I think, one of the most important parts of what you just talked about, right? That pain point of time. Time is money for anybody. And as we know, just going through, if you look at your individual portfolio and say, hey, there's even my top 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an hour and a half. So you're talking 10 to 15 hours just to watch, let alone the piece of going back and doing that type of comparison, and figuring out what was said, what wasn't said, what was different this time around. So, a massive service, and certainly a benefit to AI, right? And how to consume AI. But there's the opposite side too within that AI space, right? And I think, consumers at times can just find the easy way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to take information and they're just going to believe it to be true. What's unique, do you think, about our approach when we talk about AI as that human, times machine, the human and machine aspects? to help really, discern that information and the wild variety of information that's out there to, make sure that we're putting forth the best content possible. Because, like you said, I mean, there's so many different models out there. There's so many different companies, and if folks are paying attention, I mean, I think these have disclaimers, right? Hey, it may not all be true, so make sure that you fact check. And it's like these
Yeah.
hallucinations
So
come about. So
there's a,
what separates us?
well, aside from the fact that we have two of the best bald men, best looking bald men in the
That's true.
business, and a really nice looking bearded wonder. No, in all seriousness, the difference that I think it's easy to make this point in two ways. First one, if anybody wants to go to ChatGPT and just ask ChatGPT what stock do you think I should buy, and see how that goes for you.
Yeah, good luck.
It's not a it's not hard for me to convince folks at this point in time that the AI is not to a place where you can just have it running a portfolio for you and or making selections and giving advice that are not checked by a human or enriched by further analysis. And that's where the core of what i10 research has been for more than a decade of following the money and using the methodology that is volume at price analysis that provides for true edge, whereby it is systematic and objective, and it generates alpha and positive returns, whereby the vast landscape of other technical approaches or technical analysis methods and techniques, they just don't work, or they work for very short seasons, and then when market environment changes, then they work horribly, and so net the results of these approaches is negative. And the same can be said with a lot of strictly fundamental approaches. Looking strictly at fundamental approaches, there is the market doesn't always take a fundamental view and follow what is the fundamental outlook on each of these individual companies, or the market in general. Sometimes good news is good, sometimes good news is bad, sometimes bad news is good, sometimes bad news is bad, and it's not predicated on the news so much as the reaction to the news, or what is the second order effect of this piece of news, and that's the part that utilizing volume at price and following the money, that's as close to the ground as you're going to get. Being able to distill the vast amounts of fundamental and or technical information and put it into something that is measurable, where and you can see, based on our analysis, where the money is and where the money is going, and that's what moves markets, that's what moves prices, and that's objective information that is alternative to what all the scads of other technical approaches are utilizing, and that strictly fundamental approaches completely miss because they're not even looking.
How do you maintain a absence of opinion in this process? Because I know we've talked about it a bunch, like how opinion just bleeds into everything today, right? And it's everywhere for any product, doesn't matter, market, you're selling a toaster, right? Like opinions bleed in. How are you keeping yourself checked to keep opinion out and use experience plus data to drive the products that we produce forward?
Well, it's because it's not a, it is not an opinion-based approach. It is a data-based approach. It is a process that utilizes tools and technology to apply to markets, and then the experience piece is experience in developing and refining that process so that it is systematic, so that it is objective, so that it is repeatable. And despite my opinion on fill in the blank, the output of the process of the methodology is what gets reported in these reports. So, whether I think the economy is just fine or whether I think it's in trouble, that doesn't matter. And the data and analysis will reflect and tell me what it is that I'm going to report as far as the stock market and stock indices go. And same to be said for anything that the process and methodology has been developed over when I initially started, I was utilizing this kind of methodology when I spent almost a decade trading ethanol, buying rail cars worth of ethanol and following commodity markets, ethanol, corn, crude oil, gasoline, and the methodology by which I got into that business and had developed to do that was a volume at price based auction market theory, auction market principle based methodology. And I utilized that for almost 10 years before I started building the tools so that I could see and do the things even better that I was already doing that way. And then that's kind of how that winding road of now I'm building a tool for the Bloomberg terminal. That's how that all got started. And the reason that I have a process and a methodology is because I built it for myself back then. And I needed to build something that was systematic, objective, and that worked. I mean, let's be fair. There's I can go on any platform anywhere and find somebody that wants to sell me their strategy or their course or their whatever that's going to tell me how to invest or how to trade or whatever. And I'm just here to tell you, 99% of those things, they don't work. They won't work. To an experienced eye, you can almost tell immediately based on how, what they even will say about how their methodology or whatever is derived. You know that there's a 0% chance that this will work, or that whatever he's done with this, or he or she has done with this, will work. But what I'm doing with this is based on something that I used for more than 10 years, refined over that time, and then continue to refine and put make robust over the span of more than a decade of doing it for Wall Street professionals. And to be fair, the people that are using my research are playing at the highest level.
They are
in the bigs. They're not interested in opinions.
No.
Or they're interested in things that tickle their ears but don't work, or that they want they are in the business to make money. They are in the business of making money for themselves or for their clients.
Correct.
And they want and are willing to pay for information and research that does that for them, and that's what i10 research is.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I, thinking about those years and the time that you spent, roughly, as fast math, right? And you and I always have this running joke that I've always said there would be no math, right? But on the math, that's almost 40,000 hours, right? Worth of time invested by you.
Jeremy, we're going to need to have somebody check this math.
You better check the
Yeah, I'm
math.
taking
Always,
notes.
always
We
double
need
check
we need a
Chase math.
t-shirt for Chase that says I was told there would be no math.
There would be no math. There would be no math. But 10,000 hours is mastery, right? 10,000 hours of mastery. We're talking about you doing this over the course of your career and being at a level that very few people in this industry ever enter into, right? And so I just think it's a testament to all the work and effort, time, focus, and like just grit and drive of what you've created thus far, and now where we're going, right? Like we're going to this economy of scale with what we're doing, and we're taking this to, like Jeremy mentioned earlier, to the individual investor too. Like I think we're at a point where so many people are starting to wake up to opportunities on how they go educate themselves and where they're getting information from. And our move to Substack is no different, right? We've been studying and thinking about that move for a while now, and we finally made the jump. And so we're at a point where your mastery and the market needs your thought process on how to make decisions and how to go about in making smarter investments as a whole. And so I'm super excited about being along for the journey. And I think we're in for a good ride. We got some great events coming up. I'm gonna take a minute here and just kind of do a quick plug for you have not liked or subscribed the video, click the link in the description below, subscribe, check out our Substack, share the show with your friends. We'll be doing this probably once a week. We're still working out cadence and kinks, so stay tuned. But come check us over at Substack. All right.
Yeah. And Jeremy, I asked Chase once, what was the hardest thing about college? Give it to me in 5 words. And he said, math is hard.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey,
Oh, I
fair.
love it. I love it. I love it.
No,
right.
if you're calling stuff out, Chase, like the other thing to call out is if you're watching this and you're part of the Portfolio Management Institute, we will be in Austin
Oh yeah, that's right. We're gonna
on
be
June 10th, 11th, 12th
Yep.
at their 20th annual
20th anniversary.
forum. So look for i10iQ there.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. That's a great call out. And then also at we're gonna be out in Denver. When is that? Is that in July?
That's August
That's
1,
July.
2,
Yeah.
or July 31,
July,
August 1,
1st
2. I
and
know that
2nd.
that's our travel. I just
Yeah, we're gonna be out there for the
All
Academy of
squared away.
Certified Portfolio ACPM. So we're gonna be out there for that. That one's gonna be exciting. Looking forward to getting out there. But yeah, it's gonna be a good summer. So again, like and subscribe. Click the link below. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks.